Some of the latest headlines out of the Middle East: Israel bombing branches of a Hezbollah-run financial institution in Lebanon that Israel says is used to fund attacks. Though many ordinary people also keep their savings there, there were no reports of casualties. Meantime, Palestinian health officials said 18 people were killed in fighting in the northern Gaza Strip and 8 elsewhere in the territory. Israel intensifying its campaigns in Gaza and Lebanon in the days after it killed Hamas's leader, and many are still expecting retaliation on Iran for a missile barrage that it fired at Israel on October 1st. Joining us right now on the conflicts is former Trump administration Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates. She's now National Security and Foreign Policy Vice President at the Heritage Foundation. And Victoria, I guess one of the things we left out was this attack on Bibi Netanyahu's Caesarea home over the weekend as well. He wasn't injured, but that was a pretty close call, I think, by most people watching.
Yeah, Becky, it's good to be with you. I mean, this really shows how personal this war has become, and, you know, it is a direct tit for tat. As you just mentioned, the Israelis caught Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, last week in a huge blow to Hamas. And obviously, they've taken out the leadership of Hezbollah as well. So this is, as I said, personal. Everyone, I think, is pleased that the prime minister wasn't hurt, but it's a very, very dicey situation.
What does Sinwar's death mean just in terms of what might come next with this? What are the potential possibilities?
Well, it really undermines Hamas's ability to function as a fighting force, but also as a political force, because that was part of what he was responsible for. And so there's discussion that the leadership of Hamas will be moved out of Gaza altogether, probably to Doha, where a number of their senior surviving people are living at this point. But that makes it very, very difficult to control the situation on the ground. So Hamas is really decapitated. It's sort of time for decision for the people, Palestinians living in Gaza, about what kind of life they want to lead. Prime Minister Netanyahu kind of laid out terms last week, you know, lay down your arms, surrender, you will be spared, release the hostages. That's how we can bring this thing to an end.
If that were to happen, if they laid down arms, the hostages were released, would you still expect and anticipate a retaliatory strike on Iran?
Well, I think that's something the Israelis have to weigh out, because both the strike from Iran in April and then the one, as you said, on October 1st, that's a huge escalation. Iran had not attacked Israel directly before, so they're going to have to do something. And the question is what they want to hit, whether they want to wait until the American election. These things can go on for a couple of months before a direct action is taken. That's what happened in January of 2020 with the Soleimani strike. That was a good 6-7 weeks after the attack that inspired it. So I think, you know, for Israel, it really is going to be as sort of an opportunity again for them, whether they see a strike that would be advantageous for them, or if they think that it would be too escalatory and that they don't want to risk a wider regional war.
I think that's what the difficulty is. I mean, the idea of wanting to be able to make progress on peace talks and returning the hostages, but then also wanting to retaliate. They don't seem like they necessarily could commingle.
No, and that's really their dilemma. I mean, it's been over a year now that we've had this kind of slow motion grinding hostage situation that is so cruel. And there are 101 of them, some 50 may still be alive, including some Americans. And so, you know, getting that situation resolved has to be a top priority. But at the same time, as I said, you can't allow the Iranians to normalize firing 181 ballistic missiles at Israel. There has to be some kind of response. The question is when.
The election here in the United States 2 weeks away, you hinted at the idea that there could be something where we wait to see response after that election. Does it matter who wins in that election in terms of what Israel might or how it might respond?
I think it does. I mean, there is certainly a very strong perception that the Trump administration was more aggressively supportive of Israel. We had the leak of the intelligence documents over the weekend, and I don't have a crystal ball, Becky. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you that never happened in the first Trump term. And that, I think, is, something that will shape Israeli calculus if they think they're more likely to get a more robust support from a future Trump administration. That might well behoove them to wait for that and not sort of upset the apple cart politically in the United States in the interim.